All right, can everybody hear me okay? Yeah. Excellent. So my name is Chris Kelly. I'm with Ross Video. I'm the Director of Solutions for Production Workflow. If you guys don't know Ross Video, we're a company that's gotten very big fairly quickly in the last 10 years. So when I started with the company, it was just switchers and open gear and our product's soft metal server. And now we've broken into a lot of divisions. We have graphics, and we have robotics, and we have LED, and we have a bunch of other stuff. Production workflow is all of the stuff that you generally need to tie a lot of that stuff together. And so that's Overdrive, our production automation system. You typically see those in news stations. Quorum, which is our automation for meeting rooms. Inception, which is our editorial management system. You typically see those in newsrooms as well. And of course, media asset management, Media IO. So I'm here to talk about what is a MAM. I was the media asset management product manager for a couple of years before we acquired a company in 2021. We'll talk about the history of that further down in the conversation. Part of this is just going to be a group therapy session, I think, for me, to talk about all of the challenges that come with media asset management. Because when ultimately we talk about what is a MAM, if I secretly polled every single one of you, and asked you what you think a MAM should do, I think I would get a single answer for every person that's different than every other person in this room. And so when you're a company like Ross and you're aiming for creating a product that all of you can use, you get a very, very fragmented product if you're not careful. And so that's, I think, what I have seen not just at Ross, but across the industry in media asset management, is you end up with a product that is built for a specific customer, but not necessarily built for another customer. And so using the term MAM can be really problematic. So MAMs are much maligned. I'm doing a great job of selling this, by the way. They don't do exactly the way I want to do it. They don't do what I want to do the way I want to do it. They don't integrate with the thing I want to integrate with. They're hard to configure. They're hard to maintain, and they're expensive. And probably the hardest part is the MAM can do everything if given enough money, brains, and time. And so often you install a MAM, and it's a blank sheet. It's an empty chalkboard. And then you have a person that sits there and configures it for you to do exactly what you want it to do. But that's really hard to support, right? You're gonna call tech support when the thing doesn't do the thing you asked it to do, and that tech support person is gonna have a real hard time understanding what it is you're trying to do, because the system that's installed down the street behaves completely differently. So let's break it down. Media, we know what that is. Pretty easy to identify. It's picture, sound, document, video. It is a piece of material that represents something visually or audibly or whatever. An asset is that plus a record of information. Technical metadata, practical metadata, right? So there's the technical part of it. It's 1920 by 1080. It's 5994. It's progressive. It's got a very fixed duration of this many minutes, this many hours, this many seconds, this many frames. But it has a name. Sometimes that name is complete gibberish. In fact, most of the time the name is complete gibberish. So you need to actually have other metadata in there to tell you who shot it. Well, that helps. Who's responsible for being the reporter or the producer or whatever for this? What was the assignment that we did this on? If you have a really cool camera or something like that, I can bring in the location information of where this was shot. So it's pairing the media with information that helps you understand where the content is or what the content is, that you can easily access it when you need to access it. And then the really, 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 really hard part, what do you want to do with the media once you've got it ingest into the system? There's about 1 million different pathways that this video can go, or this asset can go. Do you want to edit with it? Where do you want to send it? When you create a final asset, how are you going to do that? What editor are you going to use? Are you going to use Media Compose? Are you going to use Premiere? Are you going to use DaVinci? Edius, you name it. Does it need to get into After Effects? Does it need to get in and out of Photoshop? What? Is it going to go to the web? Is it going to go to Air? Do I want to run it through some AI tools to do some image identification or auto-transcribing? I'm going to archive it after a specific period of time. Where do I want to archive it to? When do I want to achieve that archive? It's all different. And a lot of the MAM systems that are out there today, including ours, frankly, it's a very manual process to get that set up. And it can be a lot of heartache for people to try to get it working exactly the way they want to do it. I often say, when I talk about this, what is a car, right? Car is a very, very broad term as well, right? I'm married and have 2 kids, an 8-year-old, 6-year-old chaos goblins. And if I'm gonna go to the beach, I need to get to the beach in a car. If I take my kids, I'm gonna take a very different car to the beach than I would if I'm not taking the kids. If I'm not taking the kids, that hot little red sporty thing down there is gonna be perfect for me and the wife. I just need like a little picnic blanket and we're off to the races. If it's with the kids, it's gonna be the buckets and the sand and the shovels and the balls and the towels and the chairs and the snacks and more snacks, drinks, and all the things they're gonna complain about that they don't need. So the point is, I'm taking a different vehicle to the beach based on what I need it to do. And so I should be buying the car that I need or renting the car that I need for what I do that. I'll give you another practical example on this as well. Just recently, my wife was a teacher for a long time that lived 5 minutes away from the school she taught at. She's an assistant principal now, and she's on the far south side of Indianapolis from where we live. So it's a 40-minute drive each way. It just so happened we also bought an electric car at that time. So we're now saving ourselves $200, $300 a month in gasoline because she's taking the EV down and back. Again, a car that was built to solve the problem of driving long distances, but not so long that I couldn't charge it pretty regularly. So again, I'm looking at buying or acquiring or using a system that's going to solve my problem in the best way I know how. One of the things that I look at, we get a lot of MAM opportunities coming to us at Ross. And I kind of am the gatekeeper for, do we want to pursue this business? And the reason is because, as I said before, Ross Video sells a lot of product. And I don't want to be the one that sells a MAM into your facility, only to have you guys have a bad experience with it because it doesn't do what you want it to do. And then you guys look at us and say, well, I'm not going to buy your graphics system, or I'm not going to buy your router, or I'm not going to buy your CG system because this other thing was garbage, right? So what I'm looking at when somebody brings to me business that says, I want a MAM, is what you're asking for me something that I can do relatively out of the box. It's what can it do relative to what does it do. What can it do implies, I mean, we can make the MAM do almost anything, but it's going to require a lot of effort and cost and time, and with all of those things, usually pain. Versus what does it do? What just comes out of the box, right? What does it do that might make your life easier? If all you need is a plug-in into Premiere so you can access your media, and you want to be able to edit media into a final piece, and you want to put some sort of approval workflow before you send it out, that's pretty out of the box. But if we need to integrate with this thing and that thing and the other thing, we need to go to the storage we've never talked to, and we need to go to cloud after that, and we need to do all this other stuff, technically, yeah, we can do that. But is it something that's going to make your life easier? Is it something that's going to give you guys a better impression of Ross Video when all is said and done? It's hyper-customizability versus inherent capability. I'm more interested in the inherent capability than the hyper-customizability. Now, you're going to see some stuff that we're going to talk about of what we're looking at doing with the MAM that will make it such that you can hyper-customize it, but it's something that you guys can do. That's our focus right now, is making a product that you guys not us, can customize to do it what you want to do with it. So what's the history of MAM at Ross Video? I've been here through all of this. Streamline for expression graphics. Streamline is our MAM. It was originally built, the whole purpose of that media asset management system was to give news stations the ability to create a work order for a piece of media that they wanted to put into their expression graphics. So if you're watching one of the local stations here that have his expression, which NBC has expression and ABC has expression, and they both have Streamline, or they at least have some sort of media asset management system that goes along with it. If you need a mugshot, or you need a logo, or you need a picture of a monument or a building, or police tape or whatever, a producer can look in this asset management system, see if they can find the asset that exists. If it doesn't, they can request it. Art fulfills it for them. It places it back into the graphics system, and it goes to air. It was a very simple, purpose-built workflow that made people's lives easier. Now, it's called a MAM, right? So there's an implication that does more than that. But the original version of Expression Graphics Streamline didn't do that. The next one was Streamline News Video Suite. Same application, we just built another module into it that supported a MOS workflow. For those of you who aren't familiar with the MOS workflow, that's how it integrates with a newsroom computer system. It gave the producer the ability to say, on this particular line in my rundown, I have a story that needs video. I'm going to say in my newsroom system, this needs video. It creates an empty asset, we call a placeholder, in Streamline, and then somebody knows I need a piece of video for that. They cut the video, they put it into the media asset management system, it sends it to playout, it makes a playlist, and you're off to the races. Again, sole purpose is just to get video from somebody saying I need video to somebody saying video is ready. And actually, that's one of the biggest features of that, is it provides status feedback into the newsroom system. So a producer doesn't even have to look at the MAM. They could just look at their newsroom system and see ready, not ready, ready, not ready, ready, not ready. They could see what still needs to be cut in advance of their show. Now we have Streamline Pro / Exchange. In June of 21, I was the product manager of Streamline, the first two, and we acquired a company named PrimeStream in order to kind of advance the capability of our media asset management system. And that included a product called Exchange, which is more feature-rich, web-based MAM that offered better tools for managing the raw assets. So what I was talking about in this Streamline News Video Suite part, we only cared about the final asset. We only really cared about the thing that was going to play out of the video server on air. But we weren't really at all worried about the media that it takes to create that, right? You shoot 30 minutes worth of video to distill it down to 1 minute and 30 seconds. So there is an absolute need to manage that media. But to do that, generally speaking, what needs to happen is you need to integrate with the editor at that point. And that was the thing that PrimeStream had, was that integration with Premiere. So that you could go in, you could dump a bunch of media into a project that everybody could access. They go to Premiere, they open up the panel in Premiere, and they see all of the content that they need to see. They edit, and then they ship that off to the placeholder, and they're done. And that's, at the end of the day, that's really the workflow that everybody wants, is they want to take what they have that's raw and turn it into something that's distilled down to the perfect essence of what their story they're trying to tell and get it to where it needs to go. At the same time, it was integrated with Media.io, which is also their video server application, which we really, really liked. So it did things that were better around live ingest, so that I'd have a web UI where I could see while I'm ingesting, I could be setting markers and making subclips and editing and growing file and the whole bit. So that's how Ross has come to the MAM game, and why I have words to say about it is because I've been involved from the most primitive of MAMs to probably one of the most complicated of MAMs over a period of like 5 years. So we have a path to convergence. And that's to take what we know as Streamline Exchange, which was developed by PrimeStream before its acquisition with Ross, into something called Streamline Pro. And what Streamline Pro is Ross Video has been developing a web platform that we can install all of our applications in. So for example, something simple. I need to log in. I need to talk to a database. I need to talk to storage. We actually built a framework for our newsroom system to be able to address that. But in reality, everybody needs to log in, and everybody needs user rights management, and everybody needs to address a database, and everybody needs to address storage. So what we're doing is we're putting our MAM into that technology and all the functionality that exists in Exchange into that technology so that when we make improvements to that login procedure, we want to support two-factor authentication or SAML or something like that, or we need to address a new storage system or a different database. We could do the development in one core piece of technology, and all of the products that use that technology can consume it. It's way more efficient for us to be able to push out updates if there's security issues or whatever. It means moving from old to new. So we have, these are some screenshots of Streamline Exchange. This is the asset browser. We have a logger that you can design your own like logging tools. So you can just build buttons that do things. So as you're watching a piece of video, you can hit a button that says this is a cool shot, or hit another button that says that's a garbage shot, or you can set those timeline-based metadata markers. We've got our tool sets called, with Premiere, we've got a panel that basically represents everything you see here in Premiere. And we've got a project management tool. So you can see kind of where, if you have lots of projects going at any one time, you can kind of see at a high level how far you're along in those projects. But what we're looking for is more to move towards a new user interface. So for example, Streamline Pro is this integrated with our newsroom system. So it's an ability to make it, one of the things that we are actually really driving towards is making it so that you have one user interface. So it makes it really difficult for you to tell where one product stops and another product starts. When you start integrating with Expression, or when you start integrating with a nonlinear editor, when you start integrating with the newsroom system or whatever, we're trying to make it so that in the ROS ecosystem, you have one login and you can open up whatever tools you need to do your job in that one UI. It also means things like automation. This is our current automation platform in Streamline and Media.io. It's pretty complicated. It's difficult to understand. I think of myself as a fairly intelligent person with regards to this, and I still can be a bit flummoxed by it. We want to move to something that's more node-based, something that you guys can actually learn, use, be trained on, and as you decide, hey, I want to add this workflow, I want to add this workflow, I want to add this workflow, you can build them yourself. Because to us, we want you to own your system. We don't want to own your system. And frankly, that's the way a lot of MAMs are these days, is the vendor has to own your MAM. That's not the business we want to be in. The power of the MAM is directly proportional to the user's ability to understand it. I say that about really every ROS product, right? There's some really great CG systems out there. Expression is done well because it's easy to use. Our switchers are good switchers, but there are very, very good switchers on the market that don't have a ROS brand on it. But we found that the ability to understand how to use the switcher is where the power is. And it's not necessarily in what the switcher or graphic system or MAM or whatever it is can use, could be the most powerful thing in the world. But if it's so complicated that only one person can actually do it in the entire world, I'll be honest, it's not that powerful. So that is, to me, that's what a MAM is. Right? When you ask me the question, what this started with is, what is a MAM? A MAM is something that your media is precious. It's valuable. It has immense value. The historical aspect to a lot of the media that you generate is, I wish I had put it in here. There was a station in Minneapolis a few years ago. It's probably been closer to 10 years ago. Guy was looking through some video of teachers protesting. And they had an interview with this kid who's probably 10 or 12 years old. You know who? Prince. Prince. Yep, it was Prince. Just happened across it. How valuable is that video? I know. So to me, the power of the MAM is to be able to preserve the media in a place that you can find it, and be able to act on it in a way that you want to act on it without having to spend tens of thousands of dollars asking me or somebody on my team to create the workflow to make it happen. That's what a MAM is. A MAM should be owned by the user. And so that's, if you ask me what a MAM is, that's what it is. It's a powerful tool that you guys can use. That's it. 20 minutes. Does anybody have any questions, or if you guys want to talk, come and see me. I'll be standing up here for a little while.